This is a monstrous act. A monstrous act that they would do upon these kids what they have done.
The 90s investigators, were there red flags in Dennis Perkins' job application that should have been looked into further?
Perkins is the now fired high-ranking sheriff's deputy with Livingston Parish accused of child rape and having porn. Tonight, the sheriff there was breaking his silence about the accused. A longtime close personal friend, our lead investigator, Kieran Chawla, joins us with more on that. Kieran.
Hey, Greg, we have had several records requests in for the past several days since the news broke on Dennis Perkins and his school teacher wife, Cynthia. Today we received some of those. Plus, I've been on the phone for days now digging into details on this case. Here's what we found.
He betrayed us. He is a criminal. He did criminal acts, is what he did.
Livingston Parish Sheriff Jason Ard speaking out tonight for the first time regarding his high-ranking deputy, Dennis Perkins, who has since been fired.
I ask myself every day, how did this happen? We have deputies going around my office. How did this happen? We don't know. If we did, it wouldn't have happened, but unfortunately, it did.
A Baton Rouge police officer went to Sheriff Ard directly in 2013, telling him Perkins was found in the bed with the officer's young stepdaughter in the middle of the night.
He got up, he left, it was over with when he left. I took it upon myself to go ahead and ask those questions and make sure that did anything happen? Are you doing anything inappropriate? If you are, you better not let me find out because you will be dealt with.
Ard says when he questioned Perkins, Perkins denied it, meaning there was nothing criminal and nothing to investigate. The sheriff says the man never put the complaint in writing.
He's a law enforcement professional, and all law enforcement officers know one thing, and one thing for a fact. If you don't write it down, it didn't happen. He should be ashamed of himself for not reporting that.
Looks like the finger's pointed at you. Did the sheriff not do anything? Did the sheriff turn a blind eye when things were being reported to you about Dennis Perkins?
Absolutely not. And this is my question about this deal involving this officer's stepdaughter. Why hasn't the mother of that child come forward? Why has she not made a report?
That mother, whose identity we are protecting, tells me she is respecting her daughter's wishes, but did finally issue a statement today. In 2013, it was brought to my attention that Denny Perkins crawled into bed in the concern then and now is my child. I immediately brought her to a counselor. My husband at the time was handling the legal side of it and went to the sheriff. There was no need for me to, quote, come forward to file a complaint, as he was handling that part of the situation. The Louisiana State Police was made aware of that incident in 2013, but told us yesterday they tossed the case back to the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office.
I know a third party made the state police aware of this, who basically I had a discussion with and agreed at that time there was nothing criminal, so there was no formal investigation done, there was no criminal activity. So that's where that stopped that.
Did it raise any suspicion for you as to the claim he was bringing forth?
Well, anytime you get a complaint, there is a suspicion, right? So you have to go through that. But at the end of the day, there is no crime committed. Therefore, no one is going to...
The Louisiana State Police interviewed that officer last week. Troopers say the officer admitted last week he did not think an actual crime had been committed, but that a counselor told him at the time she believed Perkins was, quote, grooming her for potential inappropriate behavior in the future. State Police said today they have now closed their investigation into that 2013 incident, having found no criminal misconduct. The 9 News investigators went digging into Perkins' past. He started with the Walker Police Department in 1998. On that application, have you ever tried or used a marijuana product? He marked yes. The top name on his reference list when applying at Walker PD, Jason Ard. 4 years into that job, Perkins was the target of an internal affairs investigation for calling in sick while going to a wedding and a bar, according to documents. Corporal Perkins did abuse his sick leave on 2 separate occasions and is guilty of 2 counts of insubordination. Amid that investigation, Perkins was trying to move over to the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. In fact, the day he was found guilty of insubordination at Walker PD is also Perkins' first day on the job at the Livingston Sheriff's Office, April 23, 2002. While applying with the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office, though, we found, did you ever try, use narcotics or dangerous drugs illegally? He marked yes. Have you ever tried, used marijuana? Yes. Have you ever stolen any merchandise from former employers? Yes. We also found when Perkins was applying to become a school DARE officer, he said, quote, I also love children and would love to share the anti-drug message to our community's youth. Aside from that, we found numerous awards, certificates, and letters of accommodation for Perkins while at Walker PD and at the Sheriff's Office.
Have you had any claims come forward from anybody else in the public on Dennis Perkins over the years?
No, we've had no, I have no record of any type of incident involving in Perkins. When you look in his file, all Perkins has ever done at this office is promote.
What do you say to the victims' families?
So, my heart goes out to them. I'm a father, and I can't even begin to imagine what they have to be going through. This is a very hurtful situation.
If you can say anything to Dennis Perkins, what would you say?
I don't want to talk to Dennis Perkins right now, and I have nothing to say to him.
Sheriff Fard fired Perkins within hours of his arrest. I also requested information on his wife, Cynthia Perkins, the former school teacher. The Livingston school system says they legally cannot release anything in her personnel file, but then added that she had no documented complaints in the past 7 years at the various Livingston Parish schools she has been at. Guys?
Karen Chawla, thank you. By the way, Dennis Perkins is being held without bond after he decided to waive a bond hearing this morning. The hearing was to determine if he was a threat to any victims in this case. Perkins was in court with his new attorney who wanted to waive the hearing and do it at a later time because he had not been able to discuss the case with his client yet. The state's AG office says they are ready to discuss evidence during this hearing today, but that will now have to wait.
We have our best people working around the clock on this. We're actively investigating that, actively reaching out to known victims, and we would just ask them to be patient, and we're gonna get through this.
The judge ordered Perkins not to have any contact with any victims in this case. His next court date is on December 19th.
We will continue to stay on top of this story on air and on our 9 News app. It's where you can also find the very latest details as